What's up, everybody? Brett Okamoto from ESPN, joined by the man of the week, main event, Belal Muhammad himself, right? Main event Muhammad. No, wait, main event Muhammad. I'm getting that. That's
That has a better ring to it.
it. Yeah, Belal. Remember the name Muhammad, but this week he is main event Muhammad. Which let's start there, man. I mean, how excited are you to just get that first UFC main event under your belt?
Man, it's amazing. Honestly, it's like you sit there, you work for your whole life for this moment, and it's one of those things where people are like, "Man, did you think about it?" I was like, "Bro, to be offered a main event spot on ESPN for the biggest promotion in the world, these are things that you dream about, and that some of the best fighters in the world never had this chance to achieve this thing. So for me, it's a big goal, and it's just the beginning for me, honestly."
Yeah, and it's not something that came, some guys get lucky or some guys create a big buzz and they get this early in their UFC careers. You've been around for a minute. Do you feel like this opportunity should have come sooner, or did you not really mind like paying your dues and kind of taking the long way to UFC main event?
Man, honestly, it's one of those things where it's like how you see Dustin Poirier always posting it, man, paid in full, paid in full. Like I earned it, man. I always wanted to earn it. So I had to go the hard route. And, like you say, sometimes guys come in real quick, they get main events, and then all of a sudden they start dying out and falling off, and you like forget about them. Me, like I had to earn this spot. I went the hard route, and, it's going to make this much more to me because I already put the work in, and now that I'm here, it's not like I'm not gonna fall off. I'm gonna stay at this level, and I'm just gonna keep going up from here because I've already had the tough roads. I've already been through those tough losses. I've came back from them, and I know that I can fight through anything.
And you've already been receiving some credit for the tough road that you got here, just because um, I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen anybody get more admiration or respect for just a realistic call out. After your last win against Dhiego Lima, everyone was like, "That was a great call out," not because it was like, "Hey, I want to fight," this big name
Yeah,
superstar. It was like it was very realistic, and it's like sometimes these guys, they take their shot, which I respect, but it's not always a shot that's going to go in. You were calling out, basically just anybody kind of in the top 10, around that top 10, when you fought Dhiego Lima a couple weeks ago, and now here you are in the main event fighting a guy who's in the top 5 against Leon Edwards. So what happened in those 5 days?
yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I was sitting there. I called out Li Jingliang. He's right above me, and everybody's like, "Bro, why didn't you call out a top 5 guy? You should have called out this guy." I'm like, dude, like I don't want to. I hate guys when they waste call outs. Like when you got guys that are like, "Oh, let me get Nate Diaz, let me get Maz," but I'm like, you're not gonna get those fights. So
Yeah.
why did you just waste it? Like that's a wasted call out. For me, I wanted something realistic. Like I haven't fought a ranked guy, and I wanted to fight a ranked guy. And I was like, man, now that I'm ranked, I want to climb that ladder. So it's like Li Jingliang. It made sense. It was a good fight. It was like an easy matchmaking fight for Sean Shelby. But hey, they're gonna skip me up all the way up to number 3. That makes it even easier for me because for me, I think I belong in that top 5 anyway, and I think I could beat anybody in that division. And for me, rankings don't really matter. It's all about wins and losses. And I've won 8 of my last 9. He's on an 8-fight winning streak. So realistically, this is a real fight that is a good fight. People sit there and think, well, number 3 should be this much better than number 13, but it ain't that. This ain't college basketball. This ain't that where you have a season ahead of it. No, this is guys. This is fighting, man. The guys that are active, the guys that are fresh, always with the momentum going on. Those are the guys that are going to be winning, man. Like you saw Gilbert Burns last year. He had a huge year because he was active, back to back to back wins, and after 3 wins, he got a freaking title shot. So that's the type of wave I'm trying to ride. And being active, being able to fight 3 weeks later, I'm happy with it. I was sitting at home after that win, and you have a couple of days where you sit there, eat a little sloppy, you're laying down, you're like, what do I do now? Because I didn't have no injuries, but I'm like, I want to go train, but my coach is like, nah, dude, relax, chill at home. And I'm not one of those guys that I'm very cheap, so I'm not gonna sit there and be like, let me go on a vacation to Cancun or something like that. I was just like, all right, I'm chilling at home. Let me get a couple cupcakes and cookies, and I'm fine. And then after a couple of days, you're bored. You lost the high of your win. You're like, what's next? I'm looking at, man, am I gonna get this Li Jingliang fight? Then all of a sudden, Ali called me, like, hey, how you feeling? And I'm like, are they offering me Leon? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, let's go, man. Let's book it. Cause I was like, when you get a call from your manager, something's up. So I was excited when he called, and I was like, oh man, this could be something good. And it worked out perfectly.
Was it just it was just obvious, like when you see Ali's number, your manager show up on the phone. Was that your first thought? Was Leon? Because it was, I mean, that was kind of the storyline that he was looking for a fight, but did you know it right away?
when he called, yeah, because he called me right after the fight, congratulating me, tell me on my performance and everything like that. But like, I know he's not gonna call me a couple days later, like unless there's something happening and unless something turned around. And I was sitting there, I did like the John Anik podcast, and he was like telling me like when Leon still has no opponent yet. And I was thinking about it. I was like, man, that's a good point. But I was like, at first I was like, man, I thought they're gonna give him Colby. Then him, he was like turning everybody down. Like, I don't want to fight Wonder Boy. He's not worth it for me. This guy's not worth it for me. So I was like, I was wondering what he was trying to, is he really trying to fight or not? But then when he called, I was like, maybe something's up. And then when he said it, I was like, let's go. He's like, you want to talk to your coach? They're like, nah, man, let's book it.
Wow. So you say yes right away, but what are like sort of the first things that go through your mind in terms of now, okay, now I'm booking a fight? Like, do any concerns go through your mind in terms of the quick turnaround or in terms of stylistically with Leon? Like, once you say yes and agree to the fight, immediately, where does the focus turn to?
The focus, honestly, right away, it just turned to getting back to the gym. And just, for me, I'm an overworker. So like, I always like to overwork. So I was sitting there like, oh man, I got to go run 5 miles or something right now. And then my coach's like, bro, you just had a camp, relax. You're in good shape. How you feeling right now? Let's heal up. We don't need a spar or anything. Just getting a good game plan for what I need to do. I talked to a couple guys that like I look up to, like Paul Felder, asking him, hey, my calf is a little sore. What should I do? You have any tricks or what's cause? Because you sat there, you fought Barbosa, you fought Hooker, and they went hard on the calf kicks with you and things like that, like little switches. And Ali told me what Khabib did and things like that. And I got a great team around me and guys, and it was just awesome, and like all those guys, just hearing them say that they had my back and like they believe in me, it just motivated me that much more.
Yeah, and you did you won that fight against Dhiego Lima very convincingly. I believe it was unanimous 30-27s, maybe even a 30-26 mixed in there.
Yeah.
But you, like you mentioned, you did take some calf kicks, some leg kicks. You were icing at the press conference, I remember. How is it feeling, and how long did it take to start to feel better after that fight?
Literally just a couple of days, honestly. It wasn't nothing serious. I sat there, I tweeted out my leg was a balloon, but I was just joking around just because I was bored and making fun of Conor McGregor a little bit. But yeah, honestly, it was fine. Like I said, I was ready to jog right when I got that call 2 days after the fight. I did a little therapy. The PI told me places to go in Chicago. The UFC hooked me up with a couple of spots to like speeding up the process. And honestly, like now it's just like a normal day. Like I feel like a perfect fight week where nothing's wrong with me.
How about cutting weight 2 times in a short amount of time? Are you concerned about any adverse effects of that?
For me, I don't really cut a lot of weight anyway, but like, you had your couple of days of just like splurging and eating sloppy. So then I was worried at first for a little bit, but then I don't know, my body just like, once it understands that a fight's coming up, it just like automatically just starts toning down, and it realized, all right, well, he went from eating bad to eating healthy again. So maybe something's coming up. So like my weight was like, I checked it. I was like, I was in a good spot, and honestly, everything's good right now.
How about the 5 rounds part? Are you one of these guys that if you knew that you were going to have a 5-round fight, that you would change training, pretty drastically, or you feel like you're always kind of prepared for 5-round fights? I've heard, people say both. So would you have liked a little more time, obviously, to have trained for a 5-round fight, or you feel pretty comfortable about it?
I mean, honestly, I feel comfortable. I was for my last fight, I was on the same card as Usman and Gilbert. So like in my head, I was like, if one of these guys get COVID, I'm going to step in. So I was already had the mindset of, yo, I'm going to go for a 5-round fight, and I need to train for a 5-round fight. So like that cardio I had for that fight was a 5-round fight. And then I'm comfortable with this fight if it goes 5 rounds. And like, that's the type of mindset I go with all my fights. Not like, I don't go in there and like hoping, all right, I'm gonna go in there and, this first punch is going to knock him out. I don't have that Francis Ngannou power or that Maya jiu-jitsu where I know if I get him down, it's over. So like, I go with the mindset that every fight's gonna be the hardest fight of my life. So like, if it goes quick, all right, I'll take it. But like, I'm prepared to go 5 rounds. I'm prepared to make a dogfight. I'm prepared if I have to get a little blood on my hands, that I'm gonna do it.
This might seem like a kind of a weird question, but I know you're obviously very confident. You wouldn't take the fight if you weren't super confident, and you took it like that. So, but like, can you compare if you had gone through a full camp with this opponent in mind, 5 rounds in mind, and let's say you're just peaking, you're at 100%. If that is the best Belal Muhammad, how close can you get to that under the circumstances when you just fought a few weeks ago, you're having to cut weight again, you didn't know about the opponent? Like, how close can you get to an ideal scenario? I mean, how can you make a comparison of those two?
Honestly, this is the the perfect scenario for me if you think about it, because I'm coming off a win, so I have that fresh mindset of being in the cage, and then it gets easier once you when I fight more often, it gets a lot easier for me. I love to fight often, so like for me to get a quick turnaround, didn't get no injuries off that fight, I feel good. And then mindset wise, I don't have to stress about 8 weeks of thinking about Leon Edwards. I don't have to sit there and look at a million tapes of him and watch tapes of him all the time. I'm getting all these, now that you're a main event, everybody wants to message you. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this. Everybody has their game plan, but like I'll sit there and I'll ignore those messages because it gets annoying because everybody thinks they know what's good. For me, I fought probably like 5 or 6 southpaws in the division already, in the welterweight division. So like that's the only thing that had to change for me was going from fighting a righty fighter to a southpaw fighter. He's not like a Damian Maia where I need to get specialists in there that I need to train for them because I know all he's going to do is shoot on me. He's not a Wonder Boy where I need a karate guy where I wish I would have had that much more extra time with him. I train with great southpaws, great strikers. And like I said, he's good, but there's not nothing specific that he does that's amazing. So like he's good everywhere. So I'm comfortable with the way this fight is. Like the perfect fight to take on short notice from anybody in the top 5 where I don't need a specialist that I wish I would have got an extra 4 weeks or 5 weeks of training specifically with this person for.
Well, yeah, the narrative is definitely around him that he must be good because not many people want to fight him, right? And so I was going to ask you, do you put him in the same regard as like an Usman and a Colby Covington? And you mentioned Maya a few times, but I'll throw Wonder Boy up there and Masvidal. Like, do you see him as like he is one of those very, very elite top 3 guys, or do you see how do you view Leon Edwards skill wise?
He's top 3. Like they offered him a title fight before Gilbert Burns. He lost it, so like. For me, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this is my title fight. I need to take his spot. But for his only issue is that he's not very active on social media. He's not a big talker. So those guys, they don't see any big money dollar signs in fighting him. So like he's a very hard fight, but they're not going to gain anything from fighting him. Like he's going to be the B guy when he's fighting all those guys. And like that's his issue. I feel like where he needs to be more active on social media. Get the fans behind him more because I mean he really doesn't have that big a following. I'm sure in London he probably does, but like this is a game where you need to be entertaining. You need to be active with fans. Like even Conor McGregor, who has over 30 million followers, he'll still tweeting. And Nate Diaz, like any of the time those guys tweet, it's like all of a sudden there's a breaking news on ESPN that this guy just made a tweet. So like you got to be one of those guys. And this is a sport now. This is a day and age where you can't just let your hands do the talking. You got to be out there, putting your name out there. Getting being active on social media, talking with fans, be likable. And I just don't think he's likable. And that's his problem with those other guys. Like Kamaru Usman, like that would be a great fight with him and Usman. That makes sense. But Usman's calling Masvidal. Why? Because the big dollar signs and he knows he's gonna get a big paycheck off that fight. So nowadays that's what it's all about. It's all about getting that extra check, that big money. And nowadays that's what guys are looking toward, like retirement and building their brand up. And he's not really thinking about building his brand. He thinks that just fighting and winning is going to build his brand for him. And that's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, talking about, entertaining and giving quotes and building your brand, you were supposed to be at that press conference last week. And I know we were looking forward to seeing you, but then you weren't. And, we spoke to Leon and Leon said that someone from your team had tested positive. Can you just kind of talk about what your experience was coming into Las Vegas and then, what happened that you weren't able to go to the press conference?
Yeah, so we were here for a couple of days, and then me and one of my coaches had to go to the fighter hotel to get tested and quarantine. And we woke up the next morning, and my right hand man, literally Lewis Taylor, my head coach, got popped for COVID. I was like, no way. They called us, and they asked him, "Did you ever have it before? How are you feeling?" Like, he had no symptoms or anything. So like that was the weird part. And we literally tested. The day before we got on the plane to come here, and he was negative. So I don't know if he caught it like on the plane or maybe he just I'm hoping it was a false positive test, but yeah, he just got positive for it. So this is gonna be the first fight. He's never gonna be in my corner from my amateur career all the way up to my pro career. It's the first time he's not gonna be there.
Wow. So he fills the role as your head coach. Like he's not just striking coach. He's not just, this pad holder. He's your head coach.
Yeah, he's my head coach. He's the one that literally got me into fighting. He's the one that he's my high school wrestling coach that brought me up from the ground up. The one that literally got me from fighting. So like, he's like my brother, my older brother mentor. So like, we've been there. So like, even him, he said that out here and quarantine out here, just in case, like, I need anything. I'm gonna look at him through the window, put my hand out, try to touch him, and just try to stay close, keep that energy close.
How big of a deal is that going to be for you? Not having him in the locker room, the walkout, and then, something's happened in between rounds in the fight. How big of an impact do you think it could have on you?
It's one of those things where we, like, even with this, where it's like, where I said I took the fight, and then all of a sudden, man, we had so much media to do. The UFC sent camera guys out, and I was like, man, this is a lot. Like, now I know what these main eventers go through all the time. And he's like, hey, that's what we're here for, man. We like to be uncomfortable. So like, we thrive in uncomfortable spots. So like, just another reason why I'm gonna thrive, because I love being uncomfortable. So like, the fact that I lost him, it's all right. It's part of God's plan, and there's a reason behind it. So it's only gonna make me that much better. And like I said, he's still gonna be down here. We're still gonna have that same energy. He FaceTimed me all the time. So like, he's not one of those guys. We're not gonna sit there and pout about it. Everything happens for a reason. So it's just gonna be another chapter in our story of when I get to the top. Like, man, we're gonna think back. Like, man, remember we lost each other my first main event, and it's just gonna make it that much better.
So who will be in your corner on Saturday then?
So I have Mike Valle. I have two teammates, Horacio Gutierrez and Ignacio Bahamondes, who's going to be fighting in a couple weeks. And then another guy just picked up, Coach Saif Saud from Fortis MMA. He's one of those guys where I went down there, I trained a couple times with them, and it just like clicks. Like, there's a couple guys where when they talk, you listen, and he's one of those guys. I fought against them, and I lost against them, but like I said, like, for us, it was like, for me, it's all about a business, and I don't take anything personal. So like, when I went down there a couple times, I ended up training at his gym. He opened his doors to me, and it was amazing down there. And I just like love the energy he brings. So then I knew he was going to be down here. So I asked him if he could fill a loose spot, and he's right away. He was just like, yeah, for sure. Even before I even got the fight. And he was one of the guys I called to ask his opinion about the fight, to get his thoughts of it. And we talked about it, and he left me a voice message too once it got like officially signed. And I literally listened to the voice message, because if you know that guy, like, literally when he talks, like, he has a way about him where it's like, hey, I know you're getting all this this praise and stuff. We ain't here for the praise. We're here to win this fight. So sit there, get that off your head. Stop with all this Twitter stupid stuff, and get back to training. And I was like, oh man, I got to keep that voice message saved just to listen to it every day, just because it hypes me up when I hear him talk.
For sure. He's got that assertive type of personality. He's I know Safe very well, obviously, and he's got that kind of like Texas football coach mentality. He runs that type of practice. He runs that type of relationship with his students, and you can tell it from the the way they speak about him, that he's the boss, man. And he's very assertive when he's giving advice. So last thing I would ask of you is, going into this fight, whether it's this week or moments before it, will you think about like what's at stake for you? You are a guy who knows how hard it is sometimes to get a fight with a top ranked guy, to get a main event. And if you win this fight, all of a sudden, you're right there in the top 4, top 5. You're calling out the biggest names in the division. You lose this fight, there's a big difference there. There's a lot of stake. Well, how much do you think about that in the days and even the hours leading up to the fight?
Honestly, where it's like, I think about the task at hand. I always think about this. My next opponent is my biggest opponent, no matter what. Dhiego Lima was my biggest fight, where you have all these people like, oh, this is going to be easy. That's going to be easy. Do this, and it's going to be easy. And like, people don't know. Like, anytime, like, everybody thought Adesanya was going to dominate this fight, and his striking was going to be next level. But like, that's not what Jan thought. Like, all these people are like telling me, like, you got nothing to lose. Go out there. You got nothing to lose. I do got a lot to lose, man. I win this fight, I'm fighting for the title, or I'm fighting Colby Covington. I'm right there in the mix. So I got a lot to gain from this fight, and I got a lot to lose from this fight, and it's life changes. So like, I'm not going in there with the mindset of losing at all. I'm not going in there with the mindset of, yeah, I got nothing to lose. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm happy just to be here. I'm not. I'm here to win. I think I could be a champion. So I'm not going with that mindset that all these people are coming at me with, and I don't even know what they mean by that. Like, oh, well, who do you want to fight next after this? Maybe you could fight number 13 or 14. No, I'm looking at number 1. That's the only person I got my eyes on is Usman. So for me, Leon Edwards is my title fight. Every fight I fight on is my main event fight. So whether it's main event or not, I'm not even thinking about the spot it's on. the only thing that matters now is, all right, I get a little more extra interviews. But for my mindset, every fight is, this is my main event, this is my title fight, and Leon Edwards is going to be my next victim.
I love it, man. It's a big opportunity. I'm happy to see it go to you. I know that a lot of people are excited to see you perform on Saturday. So thank you so much for the time. We'll let you get back to fight week, and looking forward to your first main event Belal.
Thank you, brother. Main event Muhammad, baby.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.